question and answer with our guests here today, Rachel Yankey and Paul Canoville. Delighted to have you. Thank you so much for making the time. I'm going to hand over to Joy to introduce the team in a second. Before I do, just so we can say why I'm particularly keen to have our guests here today, is because of what they represent, particularly as we're in Black History Month. And Rachel, as everyone knows, is known as MBE, but the most capped outfield England international in history, which is something that I'm trying to have a look at the so you're going to get Peter Shulman's record very soon, we hope. So,
yeah, I got 121 at the moment.
Fantastic, for sure.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. And you'll all have seen at the Olympics, Rachel was one of the players within Team GB at the Olympic Games this year. So a glorious career, and it's great to have you here. Thank you. And Paul, declare here at Chelsea Sports, who watched Paul making his debut back in the early 80s, shows my age, but as the first black player for Chelsea Football Club, and Paul will tell them more about how difficult that was in those times, was part of a very exciting team in the early 80s, moved on to Reading, much of our regrets, where he sadly incurred a career-ending injury. Again, he'll tell us more about that. Fantastic story to tell us about how he's come back from that and does so much work, not just nationally, but internationally with young people, and in many of our prisons as well, in terms of motivation, and particularly working with young people.
Welcome again. My name is Joy Francis, and I am Executive Director of Words of Colour Productions, and it gives me great pleasure to be welcoming you here at the Unity Centre in Brent, in Harlesden in particular. The young people who I'm going to introduce you to shortly have been working with us for just over a month. Sadly, not all of them could be here, but the ones who are have lots of questions for Paul and Rachel, and I'm looking straight at Adrianne. You want to say hello, Adrianne? Good to see you.
My name is Adrianne, I'm 14 years old, and nice to meet you.
All right, next to Adrianne is Jordan. Hi, Jordan.
Nice to meet you.
Right, and next to Jordan is Captain.
I'm Captain, I'm 12 years old, and nice to meet you.
All right, and next to her is Sal.
Hi, I'm Sod, I'm 13. Nice to meet you.
And last but not least, football fanatic, I'll say, an all-round mastermind, is Abdullah. Hi, good to meet you.
My name is Abdullah and I'm 12. So it's nice to meet you. What influenced you to start playing football?
What influenced me? A player of past, but still holds a lot of joy for me right now. And I used to come home every day from school, because you have DVDs now. We had videos, and I used to put my video and watch this player, and every time go to the park and practice. And that player was Pelé from Brazil. He influenced me right from the youngster. That made me, I knew that I wanted to be a footballer, professional footballer.
For me, I think I didn't ever dream of wanting to be a professional footballer or anything like that. I didn't think that was something that women did or women could do. But I used to go and watch Arsenal, my favourite team, and Ian Wright. I loved the way he played football, the way he would play on the pitch and make it look so easy, but make it look so much fun, like you were in school, playing and scoring a goal and just going crazy. And that's kind of who I wanted to be.
When you were a young girl, you used to be the only girl in the boys' football team. What kept you motivated to still be in football?
Yeah, I think what kept me motivated is the passion of playing football. I don't think I really, obviously I knew I was the only girl, but I didn't really care. I saw us all as footballers. It wasn't about being a boy or being a girl. It was about being a footballer, and the aim of that game was to score goals and win the game and enjoy myself and beat the other team. And that's all for me, that's all it was about. So yeah, it wasn't about boys or girls or anything like that.
Thank you.
Paul, you were the first black player in Chelsea. How did you deal with racism?
Oh, how did I deal with it? Not very well. And it took a little while before I was accepted. I got to say, really, growing up from the age of 9, and it was like the only black family in our estate, and it was really difficult because all my friends were white, And we really got on. It's only when the older brothers started to play and got involved. We used to play World Cup. I mean, World Cup was, you represented a country in play, which I always represented Brazil for Ruiz and Pelé. And I always got bullied and called racist names from the older boys. And it did affect me because I went home crying. I didn't understand it, didn't like it. And it was a case that I had to endure for myself. And I think back then we really didn't have anybody to talk to about it. And I kind of kept that inside a lot and didn't say nothing. I got to say my mum was a big influence because she was the one that I had a bad temper, I really do. But it was one of those, she told me there was time to count to 10 and walk away. And I got to say I did that a lot of times. So I made my debut and it was kind of shocking, to be honest, receiving that kind of racism from my own fans. So for me, it was a case I didn't know what happened, I didn't know where I was at the time. My whole game that I was brought there to do had stopped. But I think it was just being calm and turning away from many of it. That was the reason why I kept to be still there, to be in Chelsea, to be honest.
Well, I know you had an injury, but what caused it to happen?
I can't say that that defender was slow, or I was too quick, or because I had so much skill, because they say I got too much skill. But anyway, no, it was a little terrible injury, and it was, I remember it because we distinctly, even closing my eyes, I can remember it. We was playing Sunderland away, I was at Reading, and they kept me up for corners, and the ball came out, and I remember just doing a nuts. When I say nuts, I let the ball go through my legs, and as I turned on my right leg, defender took it from under me. I didn't even realise I was on the ground, and obviously as a player, we kind of curse. But there I was trying to get up, and my teammate just protected me, said, no, just relax, sit down. And I was looking at him, what's wrong with you, man? Come on, let's take this free kick quick. And he said, no, just be calm. And I didn't realise, and I looked at my leg, when I saw the leg, like from here to the knee was facing one way, and then the knee and the ankle was facing the other. It was like, whoa, and it was like shock, and what's going on? And then being rushed to the hospital, you just want to see the specialist. You want to know that the specialist is there, he's going to tell you when, because you want to know the time you're going to get back and play football. That's all I was concerned about, nothing else. Waiting on that specialist today, I was in plaster and I thought, yes, can't wait. Give me the good news. And it wasn't good news. But you still don't believe it. And you think, nah, rehabilitation, get the leg working, I can play still. The shocking news was that I couldn't, because every time I started to play, it kept swinging up like a balloon. And in a matter of about 3 months to make that decision, and it's the hardest decision for any sports person, any footballer, that, I'm going to need to retire. You don't know. It was difficult, very.
Rachel, a few years ago you were left out of Coach Howell's and Country Player Squad. Was that the hardest part of your career?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it was disappointing because it was coming at a time where, with Arsenal, I picked up a few injuries. Again, I played pretty much the start of the season, which I didn't know. Under my left toe, there's a tiny bone called the sesamoid bone, and I'd fractured it. And I was still playing, but complaining to the physio that I'd really hurt my foot. Every time I put my foot down, there was like a sharp pain, like a needle was stabbing me. But they didn't find it out, and we just didn't know what was wrong with me. But I carried on sort of playing and not playing very well. And if you're not playing well, and you're playing for a team like Arsenal, there's always somebody else that's going to, take your place. I think as a football player, you have to accept there will be times that are hard and the ups and downs, and that was Hope's decision not to take me. Whether that was wrong or right, that was her decision, and nothing I could do about that. I was more disappointed to then, hear in newspaper articles and on the news and BBC News that that I'd been questioned about my attitude and stuff like that, that had been said about me, that I had done something wrong where I really could not understand what I had done. I mean, I just tried to be the best that I could be and the fittest that I could be. So to go from that point of feeling, low at the beginning of the season at Arsenal, coming back, feeling like you're getting better, being dropped, being low, then accepting being dropped, to then feeling crushed that someone has said something about you personally, that probably hit me the hardest, and probably still is the hardest thing for me to accept.
We know that you scored a goal 11 seconds after you came on. Do you have any other highlights in your career?
That's one of the best. No, that day, it's funny because remembering it. Gotta be honest, let me walk you through it. It was a case I knew that I'd be subbed this day, and it was a quarterfinal of kind of what we call it the Milk Cup. And we always have a good game against Sheffield Wednesday, who were a very good side at the time. But where I was at Sheffield, it was like we have our pre-match meal, before the game, and I was so hungry. I kind of overfilled my plate, and I ate so much food that I felt bloated, and I was concerned. Oh my gosh, I hope I can get rid of this before starting the game. So that was my concern. We had a rest and so forth, and I still felt bloated. As well as that, I was meeting my father for the first time because he left when I was 2 years old. So I was kind of nervous about that as well on that day. And it's funny now, we started on the bench, and me and my colleague, teammate Keith Jones, he was there talking, and the game started, and Sheffield Wednesday went 1-0 up. And we thought, that ain't no problem, we'll come back to that. But then they went 2-0 up. I mean, wow, that's not too much of a problem, we still come back. But at the same time, we had this woman, Sheffield Wednesday fan, and she was giving us sweets every time they scored and telling us, don't worry, there'll be another time. But we was eating the sweets. But then they scored 3 goals, and we looked at each other and said, man, there's no way coming back from this. But we ate the sweets still. They were nice. So it was now setting up, come out, went in the change room, and it was like, Canoville, get straight. I thought, okay, like thinking, well, what more can I do here? What changes can I do? And it was like instinct. It's the ball, and remember it's kicked back to Joey Jones, and he just lobbed it. Kerry headed it, David Speedy headed it. I just knew I had to get in front of the defender. And I'm not really confident when it comes in front of goal and the keeper. I will be honest with that. I get nervous. But I hit this ball, and it hit low and to the right side of the keeper, and it went in. I was shocked more than anybody else. And it was a case of starting to read from there. When that memento, you say, look, we just scored, let's go. And it's like, after that, it was like every attack we done, we looked like we scored. And we come up 3-2, it was Mickey Thomas, and it was 3-all, Kerry Dixon. And for Kerry to pass to me, to Kerry pass to me, and I remember calling, Kerry, and he passed. And the ball was there in front of me and the keeper, and I scored the 4th, and it was like, my gosh, 4-3 up from 3-0 down, tremendous. But they came 4-all, and that was all right, but I think the nerve biting that day was going in the bar and meeting my old man for the first time. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say to this guy? I don't know what to say. He was around. Do I be angry? What do I do? And he was like, how am I going to recognize him? And that was kind of easy because he was the only black man in the bar at the time, so I could recognize him. And it's like, we stood there, and when somebody says you look like your father or you look like your mum, it's really true, because I was looking at him and said, my God, he look good. I'm looking at him, and he's like, yeah, you alright? Yeah, you alright? I said, yeah, I'm alright. You alright? Yeah, I'm alright. I said, alright? You cool? Yeah, I'm cool. I said, do you want a drink? Yeah. And it's like, we've just got on like that. And to this day, we're like that. And that's what I wanted. You know what I mean? You know your dad, you get on with your dad, and that's it. So yeah, that day, I've got to say, was the most memorable day for me. Scoring. Any day, scoring for Chelsea, don't get me wrong. It's a perfect.
Was being in the MD the highlight of your career?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, as a footballer playing on the pitch, you know, you go out there and you try and win trophies for your team, you know, whether that's your club side or internationally. But to be given an award that was off the pitch, it was never expected. I remember getting the letter. I was playing for Arsenal at the time, but the year before I played for Birmingham City, and the letter had actually been sent to Birmingham City. They'd opened it and obviously read it, and then put it in a different envelope and sent it to Arsenal. So by the time I'd got it, it was in a scrappy white envelope. I pull it out in this official looking letter, but I'm looking at the envelope thinking, no, one of you lot are winding me up. So I'm looking at my teammates thinking, who's laughing? And none of them, no one's paying attention. And I said to my mate who I was sitting next to me, have a read of that. Is it you? You're winding me up. And she was like, we read a little bit further where it says, do not tell anybody. I'd already shown it to someone, so I was like, oh gosh. But yeah, I'd been awarded an MBE, and I just couldn't understand why. No one else in my team had one. I really didn't understand. It doesn't tell you who's nominated you or what it's for, and you know, it was fantastic. It was an honour, and you know, to go to the palace and I met Prince Charles and spoke to him, and it was just fantastic. I still, you know, to this day, I'm a little bit shocked by it. I think maybe they got it wrong.
Rachel,
Yeah.
we know that you were in the Olympics, but what was it like being an Olympian?
Oh, it was fantastic. I think before the Olympics, I don't think I really appreciated what the Olympics was all about. I thought it was just, you know, a celebration of sport. You know, there's so many different sports, but it's massive. I didn't realise how big the Olympics is and how serious it's being taken, and for the athletes, not football players, but for runners and you know, track and field sports events. They train so hard for that one event, that 4 years of training for one moment. And as a footballer, you can't really understand that, because you play, you know, however many games in a season. But they don't do that. They just train, have little competitions, but the whole build-up is for one moment. And I think that in itself, and seeing what these athletes were training and what they were doing, that in itself made you feel humbled, and you had to. This was serious. You had to be prepared to go into this Olympics and give everything for Team GB. And the fans, the people that were watching, the amount of support we got. I mean, women's football is not as big as men's football. And, you know, really we sort of go unnoticed most of the time, but to see 70,000 people at Wembley Stadium cheering for us, I was shocked. I sat there and I was just amazed at the fact that these people have paid, and the tickets were expensive, paid their money to come and watch us. I was just like, wow, this is incredible. I mean, for that part of it, I was just totally amazed. The football side of it, it still disappoints me. Unfortunately, I didn't start a game. I come on as sub in every game, I think, but you know, football-wise, I would have liked to have done more, and I'm disappointed I didn't play more and didn't have the chance to really help the team more and show what I could do. But being part of Team GB is definitely a highlight and something that I will always remember. It was brilliant.
What would you be if a football career didn't work out?
For me, I was good at cricket, and really that's because me and my dad. It's funny because at school, I went to the trials for Middlesex whilst I was at school. And it was one of those that I didn't have the school uniform, well, the cricket uniform. I didn't have the white pants. I had to use my school black trousers. I didn't have the white shirt. I had to use my school white shirt. And at the time we called plimsolls. You call trainers. We call it plimsolls. And they had their cricket thing. So I kind of stood out, don't get me wrong. But as an individual, I was really good at bowling, batting and fielding. I remember distinctly that the trials that I went to, when a guy started to bowl, he said, "Can you bowl?" I said, "Yeah, I can bowl." And when I bowled him, I bowled the guy at the second bowl. He said, "Can you bat?" I said, "Yeah, get padded." And when I padded, I started to bat, I showed him too. He said, "Boy, can you feel?" I said, "Yeah." So he put me out yonder, I can't even remember the position, and I remember this one time the ball, some batsman hit the ball, and before I ran, it was just going for four, but I caught it with one hand and threw it in one movement back straight to the wicket, and it was called up, "Yeah, you need to come to the final day." And I thought, okay, that's good. And my teacher, who was so supportive, because they was at the time, I was high school, they said, "Look, Paul, I'll pick you up 9 o'clock Saturday." I said, "No problem. But you got to sing with your mum, your parents, right? You see, if you don't say nothing to them, I'll tell you what, you ain't going nowhere." And it was the case that Saturday, I got my bags packed, everything. "Yeah, mum, go, I've got to go cricket try." I said, "Paul, come here." I said, "Mum, no, I'm seriously, I've got to go." I said, "Paul, come here." And one of these crazy right, he said, "Paul, you got dishes to do." I said, no, mum, I've got a cricket try. I said, "Paul, you got dishes to do." So you imagine, right, I'm doing dishes and I'm watching the time like this and I'm going like, "I don't like you, mummy, I really don't like you no more." And I had to do these dishes, right, and it was coming after 9 and you can imagine I've just rushed, got the bags, rushed her, and she's called me back, you know. She said, "These dishes ain't done properly." And I had to redo them again. So you can imagine, done them again, by the time I got to the roundabout to meet my teacher, he'd already gone. So I believe I know I could have been a cricketer at the time and that was my next sport, don't get me wrong, but maybe that was the reason why I didn't, because I probably wouldn't be in football at Chelsea. So.
No, I never really believed that I was going to be a footballer. I know what I've achieved in football, but I still don't really class myself as a footballer. Because football for me is still a hobby. Yeah, I do get paid, not a lot, but I still work. I work in primary schools, different primary schools, in coaching kids, so I don't really see football as my main job, and I don't know, I always find it hard to answer that question, and when people say if you weren't a footballer, because I don't really, I spent 3 years being a professional at Fulham, and at that point I believe I was a professional footballer, but other than that, I've always seen it as, yeah, I love playing football, but I've always seen it as kind of a hobby for me. And I think I would have loved to have been, you know, a teacher, maybe a sports teacher in a school. I think that would have suited me down to the ground.
What made you train harder to become a footballer?
Because you want to be the best and you want to be good at what you do. As I said before, because it was a case of, as a young kid, age 5, I honestly knew that I wanted to be a professional footballer. That was my goal. That was my dream, should I say. And by the age of 8, I was in the news, an up-and-coming player in my local area, which was Middlesex. And everybody kept telling me, "Man, you're good. You'll be a professional." And you kind of listen to that, but at the same time, nobody looked at you. Nobody came and talked to you and said, "Yeah, come to this club." So it was a case of constantly, as a kid, when I was playing like 3 games. Can you imagine 3 games representing county, my local, and the other side. 3 games in one day. That's how much love for football I had, and I still have. But it's like, you have to train, you have to practice, and this is what it was when I joined Chelsea. It was such a dream that you had coaches there, and no matter when we trained, it was like from 10 to 12, and it was up to you whether you want to stay that extra mile and say, "Look, I want to improve," because my crossing was weak. I'd get past players, that was no problem, but it was my final ball. So I wanted to work on that, because every time I crossed it, my head was above. I needed to learn, mate. There's a lot of finesses that you pick up and do, and I found, and it was just useful for me that I practiced that every time, as well as my confidence in front of goal. It was good when I took on players, I'd get past them easy, but when it was in front of goal, he could put his cap on it, he didn't have to move, because I just told him where it was going. So I had to work on that as well. But yeah, if you want to be the best, you practice hard, you practice every day, and give it that little extra as well. Don't finish, work on it, and work on it and work on it. That's me.
I think, you know, for some of the reasons that you said there, just for the love of it, for wanting to be the best, for wanting to always be better. Also, no one wants to walk out of that pitch and fail or look stupid. You don't want to do that. So to make sure that, you know, you can be the best that you can be, you've got to train hard. And you got to keep doing it and make sure that, you know, when you get that opportunity to have a shot or to have a cross, that it's the best shot or cross that you could possibly do. You know, somebody else might be able to do that, but it's got to be the best that you can do, and that you feel that you're at standards that you're at. And I think footballers are, you know, sometimes selfish people. You know, that they always want best, and you have to be like that a little bit. You've got to keep working harder to be better. And I still don't think that I'm good enough, and I'm 32, and I've got, you know,
So
God knows how many.
I'm 32.
And I still want to be better, you know. So I think there's something inside of you and in each different person that you want to train harder to make sure that you can be the best that you can be.
This question is for both of you, and it's: what advice would you give to young people who are playing football?
Who are playing football?
Yeah.
Listen to your coach, but at the same time, you know what I mean, you must know as an individual how far you want to get, whether it's football, whether it's in life, not just football alone, education-wise as well. You've got to concentrate. It's not easy. Any trade is not easy, especially football. I do now a lot of work with my foundation, which is MTC, Motivate to Change. We educate, inform, and inspire. And I so work with these kids, don't get me wrong. It's now not just about giving back, it's just about nurturing them and giving them a direction. Because I know how it was. Every time I did something, my mum would say, yeah, you gotta listen. You ain't listening now, but when I tell you, you're not. And I didn't listen. Trust me when I say to you, I did not listen. But now I've grown up, I realise what she was trying to say. So I can only pass on that message. Believe me, get your head down. You know what you want to do now. You want to be young journalists. Follow that. Dream about it. I say to my kids now, dream, believe, and achieve. Dream, believe, and achieve. So continue with that.
The only thing I'd add to that is whatever you do, whatever it might be in life, you've just got to enjoy it. If you're enjoying something that you're doing, you will give it so much more attention and so much more dedication to it. You know, I play football because I love it. You know, if football said, oh, we can't pay you a penny, you have to do it, I'd still play it because I love it. You know, so I think that's what you must do. You must find whatever it is that you enjoy and go do it.
It's funny when you say that because it is this, alright, now I'm going to be showing you my age. I'm 50 years old and I still play football now because I love it. And even when I'm on the pitch, I forget that I'm 50 and go and run with this ball. And I know I'm going to have trouble after that because I'm going to ache with pain. But I still will take that ache. It takes me 2 to 3 days to recover. But boy, the enjoyment of that day, I played some football. I don't know what's going to happen when I really finally stop. I'm just telling you, it's true. When you love it so much in growing up, any opportunity, you'll play football. And that goes with any job you do. If you love it, you're going to take it and enjoy it.
If I have a dream, I'm gonna follow it, and like if something pulls me back, I'll just like get back up.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do what Paul said. Dream, believe, and then achieve.
Wonderful.
I just have to keep persisting, just keep going. I don't actually know.
You don't know now.
And that's fine.
Trust me, you will do. Trust me.
Absolutely.
I'm like you. Believe that.
I am. What we take away from this experience?
Never give up, even though you have like lots of things that will get in the way, or keep strong and believe.
Keep going. Keep going.
This has been made possible because of Fair Share Trust Brent, who supported the work was done with very different members of the community, and particularly the young people. And also, we're going to be profiled in the next community publication, Footprints. So look, thank you again, and I hope that you take this on, and we look forward to seeing you write about your community as well as football.
The talk and everybody watching you. Really excellent. Yeah. Oh no, that's positive. I definitely couldn't have done that.
Yeah.